Hey everybody, these tape tips were originally recorded for YouTube, so occasionally an episode may have a few moments that are better suited for watching rather than just listening. The link to the YouTube video is in the show notes, and if you're on Spotify, you can choose to watch the video right there. Thanks. From the very beginning of trying to improve at climbing, we're told one thing: work on your weaknesses. I've probably said this a million times myself, but I've also paid attention to what happens as a result of that type of instruction. And what I see happening is that we end up in this constant cycle of trying to determine what our weaknesses are and then trying to fix them. So much so that I end up getting similar messages from my clients, my friends, and many other good climbers. And they all go something like this.
I just tried this new project, and I think I need to do some shoulder work. Really weak at the crux, Gaston.
Think I need to do some hamstring strengthening. The heel hooks on this new boulder are really hard, and I suck at them.
Please program some lock-off work. There are 2 really hard lock-offs in a row on the new project, and I can't seem to link them together for the life of me.
And they nearly always follow this pattern. I bet you've walked away from some hard project thinking the same thing.
Crux undercling, better do some bicep training.
I have, for sure. But no, just no. There's a big problem with this line of thinking. In this video, I'm going to tell you why this is one of the slowest ways to improve and what you can do instead to make sure you aren't inadvertently holding yourself back. Now, the place we have to start is the advice itself, because frankly, it's lazy advice. And like I said, I've given it. I'm a fan of the idea that we should train our weaknesses and leverage our strengths. It makes good sense if we want to keep improving and perform our best. But the simple work on your weaknesses advice itself is just surface level lazy. I mean, how do you know what a weakness is? Is it just what we think we're bad at? Based on what? Falling or failing? Aren't we supposed to be trying things that cause us to fail? Can't we also fail at our strengths? So does that mean we're weak at everything? No, of course it doesn't. Climbing on slopers is a strength of mine, but it's not very hard for me to find slopers I can't climb on. It doesn't mean I'm weak at slopers or need to work specifically on slopers. There are literally always going to be moves that we are perfectly suited for that we still can't do. None of us gets to solve rock climbing. That would be horrible, actually. If there were some end screen for climbing, it wouldn't be that fun. But back to that advice. I do think it's important to work on weaknesses. But I've talked to a lot of climbers who have completely misdiagnosed what their weaknesses actually are. It's easy to do in a sport where we're trying to find things that are harder and harder for us. And in conversation with these people, there's actually an easy way for me to tell if that's the case. Simple question. Was it the crux? Because the thing is, the crux is supposed to be hard. That's literally the definition. So if you're trying a new project, one that's anywhere near your limit, and you find that the crux is really hard for you, yeah, exactly. It might not mean that you're weak at that thing. It probably doesn't mean that you're weak at that thing. You may not suck at heel hooks or Gastons or underclings. It might just mean that you encountered a really hard heel hook or Gaston or undercling. I mean, that's what you were looking for, right? So actually, congratulations. Finding a thing that's harder than what you already understand is exciting. You've discovered a slightly more complex heel hook than you've ever done in the wild? Good. It doesn't mean you should go double down on your deadlifts. More likely, it means you get the rare opportunity to learn something new about something you already knew a bit about. And you have the lesson and the test right here in front of you. Spend some time on it, study it, learn it, try to complete the test. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't work toward improving when you find something difficult. But there are some common errors in thinking when you make that knee-jerk, I'm weak at this response. Now, first, the idea that you have to get physically stronger in order to do this move just doesn't usually hold up. We've all thought, I just need to get stronger only to do the move a few tries later. And you didn't get stronger. Getting stronger actually takes quite a bit of time. So it's rarely the best answer to sending a specific rock climb. And I made a video all about that and another common response to difficult moves, the idea that it'll just work itself out. So if you regularly say either of these things, you should go watch it next. The link will be in the description. But second, I used situations like Gastons and underclings and heel hooks as the example here for a reason. Because for most climbers, in the grand scheme of things, those moves are in the minority, particularly difficult versions of them, of the moves that we do. So if you're just realizing on a hard project that you're bad at this very specific thing, then you have to ask yourself, how often am I actually encountering this thing? Is it worth it to spend a bunch of time training for exactly this if I don't encounter it that often? If you know it's a technique that you could likely use more often to greater effect and you're just missing the opportunities to use it, like some people often do with heel hooking, then maybe it is worth it. But for specific beta that requires a very specific hold and position that you don't encounter so often, is it worth it? I mean, if you have unlimited time to dedicate to this thing, then maybe it's also worth it. But most of us don't. Most of us have increasingly limited time for climbing and training as we get older and have more responsibilities. There's an opportunity cost to working on something. So we have to weigh that opportunity cost. A strategy you can use to decide is to maybe just consider how this will impact not only your climbing on this project, but your climbing in general. How will it affect your training time? Does it mean that something in your training has to be removed to prepare for this? Does it mean buying some new implement that you won't need for any other reason? Now again, the answer might be that it's indeed worth it. But I think it'll surprise you how often it ends up being not worth it. So you should definitely ask these questions. Because here's the thing. More often than not, you can do this move or improve at this very specific skill just by climbing on that thing a few more times. It's unlikely that anything you do in the gym, even a nearly exact replica, will even have a tenth as much impact as a single dedicated session on the actual sequence. But still, I see this cycle playing itself out for so many climbers. They identify a weakness that's related to a specific project. They work on it for a few weeks, often at the expense of other training. They send the project, they try a new project, and they find a new weakness, and they repeat over and over and over again and again and again. And oftentimes, those climbers end up stuck, spinning their wheels. Yes, they are sending things, but at the same relative grade for a long time. And let's consider this. If you find yourself in this situation on 8 or 10 projects in a row, and you found 8 or 10 different weaknesses, does it mean that you're weak at everything? And does being weak at everything mean you're not actually weaker at anything? So you're strong at everything? I'm just curious. It's a strange loop to get caught in. And I actually believe this is one of the reasons for what I think is the overemphasis of training finger strength. We can almost always blame it. It's the most direct connection we can make as to why we're falling off. But like I've said in a previous video, it's likely that people weaker than you have done this climb. Probably a lot of people weaker than you. So maybe it's your technique choice, or maybe it's your efficiency on the previous 15 moves. Maybe you're over gripping because you're scared or uncomfortable. But the usual response is,
I just tried this hard rock climb and I couldn't hold this grip, so I need more finger strength.
And look, striving for improvement is a good thing. Trying to get stronger fingers or stronger in general is a good thing. Working on what you perceive to be a weakness can build confidence. But when you do eventually send that project, how often is it because you actually gained finger strength or hamstring strength or shoulder strength? Realistically, probably not often. That strength that you're building is more likely put to use on something way down the road. So instead, if we try to apply something like the Pareto principle, the idea that 80% of consequences come from 20% of actions. So when applied to improving at climbing, 80% of our gains come from 20% of the work we do. We'll likely find that the things we gravitate toward, getting stronger and working on these perceived weaknesses, may not be nearly as powerful as we think they are in the immediate moment. Or at least that it might be some side effect of trying to get stronger rather than actually improving strength that's helping most immediately. And like I said, you should absolutely keep getting stronger for as long as you can. It's just not a good reaction to an immediate problem. Now, if you want to know if you're falling into this trap, we can add on to the questions that I asked above. So, first, is this new weakness that you found actually the crux for most people your size? If it is, that's pretty much settled. It's just hard. It's just a hard move. It's not a weakness. And this alone can be pretty freeing because you're now open to trying other alternatives or employing more intense effort because you know that you don't just need to get stronger to make it work. But what if it's not the crux? It's your crux, but nobody else's. Well, have you noticed it before? This specific thing being hard for you. Has it been unreasonably difficult for you on climbs that are well below your top level? If no, then there's probably something you're missing. A body position or confidence in the footholds. Your doubts crept in. You don't rest long enough between hard moves. You haven't eaten in hours. Something other than physical strength required to do the move. The move or hold itself is probably not actually a weakness at all. That's the surface level answer we go to. And of course, there are times where you're going to find an actual weakness. I'm not trying to dissuade you from working on it, but it might be worth it to run an 80-20 analysis. Is this skill or quality going to contribute to 80% of your climbing or only 20% of your climbing? And sometimes if it's 20%, it's still worth it. All I'm trying to do here is point out that it isn't as easy as it seems on the surface to recognize what your weaknesses actually are. But if we can get to the bottom of what actually is holding us back and we can put time toward the things that will actually help, what if there was a tool that would help you run that 80-20 analysis? That would be a game changer. And I do think we've built a self-analysis tool for movement and technique that can really help with this, our Atomic Elements for Climbing movement course. And we're working on similar things for mindset and tactics, as well as the physical metrics. And if you're subscribed to our monthly newsletter, The Current, you'll be the first to know when those are available. But otherwise, honestly, I don't really have easy answers for you. Climbing is complicated. That's part of why we love it. I do think, though, that you'll do yourself a favor if you really interrogate how you climb and how you train and try to run an 80-20 analysis on all of it. Your process, your approach, your mind state, your physical training, and of course your movement, which you can do with our tool. And the question is, what is actually moving the needle and what's merely a fun distraction? Thanks for watching or listening. In the show notes, you'll find related links, videos, and episodes, as well as how you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, The Current, where we connect the dots to help climbers learn, grow, and excel.